Hi everyone, welcome back to this tutorial on how to customize the Blazor diagram and its elements. In this video, I will show you how to customize the diagram canvas and display page breaks and multiple pages. You will see how to customize the appearance and position of nodes. You will also see how to customize the appearance of the connectors and set padding as well as bridge connectors. First, I will open an existing Blazor WebAssembly app, which has the Blazor diagram component with 3 basic shape nodes and 2 connectors. Refer to the videos attached in the description below to know how to create a node and different types of node shapes, and how to create connectors. If you want to know how to create this Blazor app and add Syncfusion components to it, refer to the video linked in the card above. I will run this application to show the initial output. See the diagram canvas rendered with the defined nodes and connectors. Now, I will show you how to customize the diagram page by setting custom height, width, and margin to the page. To set custom page size, define the Page Settings tag and set the height to 842 pixels and the width to 595 pixels. To enable the visibility of the page on the canvas, I define the Show Page Breaks property and set its value to true. I also set the page margin by defining the Page Margin tag and set the margin to 20 pixels in all directions. Look at the canvas now, it is rendered in the defined dimension and margin settings. The default orientation is landscape. I can also change the orientation to portrait by adding the orientation property with the value portrait. The page is rendered in portrait orientation. Now, I would like to increase the page size dynamically when I drag or change the position of any node beyond the page size. Because when I print or export the diagram, the elements beyond the page size will be added to the next page. This can be achieved using multiple page property. This property increases or decreases the size of the page in multiples of page height and width. To demonstrate, I enable the multiple page property by setting its value to true. As I drag the node beyond the page boundary, the page multiplies in terms of height and width dynamically. Next, I will show you how to apply background color to the page. Within the Page Settings definition, I define the Background Style tag and set a color to the background property. The page background is set with the pale cyan color. Grid lines are the pattern of lines drawn behind the diagram elements that provide visual guidance while dragging or arranging the objects on the diagram surface. By default, the diagram canvas displays all grid lines. Apart from this option, you can also display the canvas only with horizontal lines, vertical lines, or without any lines. For this example, I will display the diagram canvas without grid lines. I define the Snap Settings tag, and within it, define the Constraints property and set its value to none. You can see the diagram canvas rendered without any grid lines. So far, you have seen how to customize the diagram canvas. Now, I will show you how to customize the appearance of nodes. For demonstration, I am going to customize the background color, stroke width, and stroke pattern. I define the event, node creating, with an event handler, node create. This event will be triggered whenever a node is created. I define the event handler that receives the diagram object argument. I create an instance for the node and assign the object by casting it as a node. I then define the style property and customize the nodes by adding fill, stroke color, stroke width, and stroke-array properties with appropriate values. The fill property applies background color to the node. Stroke color represents the border color. Stroke width is the width of the border. And stroke-array is the pattern of the stroke. You can see that the nodes are customized with the defined styles. If you want to apply styles to any one node specifically, define the style settings in that particular node creation definition, as shown here. Next, I will show you how to apply gradient style to nodes. I define the gradient property and create a new linear gradient brush with the start points 0 on x-axis and y-axis. Then I set the endpoints to 50 on x-axis and y-axis. Next, I need to define the gradient stops property for smooth color transition. That is, set colors for color transition and position where the first color ends and the next color starts. Let me define the gradient stops property. And set white color with offset 0. And royal blue with offset 100. You can see the linear gradient appearance of the nodes with defined colors, white and royal blue. Similarly, you can apply radial gradient appearance by setting the appropriate properties. The nodes are positioned based on the offset values. By default, offset values represent the distance between the origin of the diagram's page and center of the node, that is 0.5 and 0.5 pivot value. Apart from the center position, the distance between the page origin and node can also be set on different pivot points like 0, 0, and 1, 1. 0, 0 represents top left corner as the node's center point, and 1, 1 represents right bottom corner. Now, I will show you how to change the position of the nodes by setting the pivot value 0, 0. I define the pivot property and set 0 on x-axis and y-axis. As you can see, the node's position has changed, based on the pivot value 0, 0, and so has the node rotation angle. Next, I will show you how to customize connectors. By default, the source decorator is set to none and target decorator is an arrow. You can customize these decorators using the respective properties. To customize all the connectors, I define the connector creating event with the event handler connector create. This event will be triggered whenever a connector is created. I define the event handler that receives the diagram object argument. Within it, I create an instance for connector and assign the object by casting it as a connector. To customize the source decorator, I define the source decorator property and set the shape to arrow here. You can also customize it using different shapes. Follow the video attached in the description below to know different types of decorator shapes and segment types. I also customized the style using Style property and set the stroke color to blue, fill to yellow, and stroke width to 2. Similarly, I customized the shape and style of the target decorator using the Target Decorator property. Here, I have set a custom shape to the target decorator and defined the appropriate value to the Path Data property. You can see the connector decorators are customized. When I drag any connector and move it towards the target object, it gets connected to the object as soon as it reaches the vicinity. The default space is 10 pixels from the object. That is, the connector connects to the object when the mouse reaches 10 pixels. To customize this space, use the Hit Padding property. To demonstrate, I define the Hit Padding property and set its value to 40 pixels. The connector connects to the node as the mouse reaches the defined vicinity. By default, the connector's endpoints are in contact with the objects they connect. If you want to leave a space between the endpoint and object, use the padding property. To demonstrate, I set the source padding to 10 pixels and target padding to 10 pixels. Look at the connectors, they are rendered with the defined padding styles. Next, I will show you how to bridge connectors. Inside the @code directive, I create a variable, constraints for an enum type property, diagram constraints, which has a set of predefined values for bridging, zooming, panning, and so on. Now, I enable bridging by setting the variable, constraints, to default and bridging. I define the constraints property and assign the constraints variable to it. To demonstrate, I change the position of nodes and connectors here. Notice, when two connectors cross, bridging takes place and makes the intersection smooth. By default, the bridging direction is top. It also supports left, right, and bottom. Let me customize the direction to right by defining the bridge direction property and set its value to right. The default width of the bridge is 10 pixels. To customize it, I define the bridge space property and set its value to 40 pixels. You can see the bridge customized in the right with the defined space. Finally, I will show you how the diagram component is responsive to the parent container. To demonstrate, I place the diagram component inside a division element, whose height and width are 700 pixels. To make the diagram component responsive to this parent division element, you need to set its height and width in percentage. Here, I set the height to 50% and width to 50%. This means the diagram will render in a dimension which is 50% of its parent element. Check here, the diagram component is 50% of the parent division element. In this video, you have seen how to customize the diagram canvas. You also saw how to display page breaks and enable multiple pages in the canvas. Additionally, you saw how to customize the appearance and position of the node. Finally, you saw how to customize the connectors and bridge connectors. If you would like to see a working example, you can download one from the GitHub link in the description below. I have also provided a link where you can see if you qualify for a free license key to use all our Blazor products through our community license. If you found this video useful, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.